heel. You're making your presence felt. You're knocking these matches out of the park. Are you happy with where you are right now?
I mean, how can I not be? And I like being put in that position where I have to work for it.
All right, guys, we are streaming the WWE Network
destination
special,
here, you know, to be one of the
Stone Cold podcast with AJ Styles. We are just a little bit late.
To get there.
I think maybe 5-10 minutes late, but we're getting into some talk about AJ Styles and what's he on about. So let's have a little listen.
I thought she maybe
and join me for the entirety of this podcast.
Well, I wouldn't say it's a chip.
What is it?
It's a guy who's always been told,
live stream stuff,
well, you're not the biggest guy. You know, I'll tell you a story. My oldest son is just, man, he's an athlete. All my boys are athletes, but my oldest son is into all these baseball, basketball, and does really well at all of them. I told my dad, I said, Dad, he's great at everything, but he's small. He goes, yeah, that's funny. So are you. You just didn't know it. There it is. You don't have to know how. You know, it's not about how big you are. You know, it's not how big the dog is. How big the fight is in the dog, right?
Right.
Same thing, man.
Dude, if you'd lined all the WWE superstars back up in about 95, 96 when I came in here, I wasn't the biggest, best-looking cat in here either. So I feel like there's a little bit of a parallel kind of running with what you're doing here in today's landscape with what I was doing back in my day. But can I give you a piece of advice before we get into a little bit of your history and come up?
We are. Will they mention TNA?
Please.
Next time you get John Cena down on the mat and get a chance to stomp the snot out of him more, because those opportunities are few and far between. You know what I'm saying?
Oh.
Just a little bit of advice, turn the volume up, because you don't want to get lost in the shuffle.
I'm guaranteeing there's probably going to be another opportunity, because I will take advantage of it, and I will take your advice.
And I want to apologize for those 2 4-letter words, but I figure when you pay $9.99 for a network and you get all the quality program and it's on this thing, that you get 2 4-letter words from Stone Cold Steve Austin every single month. That's just what I believe, AJ. I got to give the people their money's worth.
Yes.
For those that I offended, my humble apologies. AJ, back to you. I tried to do a lot of research on you. I've seen a lot of your work.
I didn't even hear it.
All the promotions you've been.
Just a good delay on
Holy
it, so
smokes, you've been around the world. But where did it all start? Where do you come from?
Well, obviously, I was. You want the whole story?
I want to know where you was born.
Camp Lejeune, North Carolina.
Here's a story about Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. Was it Army base or Marine base?
Marine base.
It's a Marine base down there. Wrestled down there in the early 90s in that little gymnasium that they have over there. That is the hottest damn building I have ever wrestled in my life. How was life coming up? Was your dad a Marine?
My dad was a Marine. I will say this, although I was born there, I didn't spend, you know, I don't even remember being there, because, you know, when I was about 1 year old, we moved to Gainesville, Georgia.
Yeah.
But once a Marine, always a Marine. I lived with a Marine, and the guy was pretty scary. You know, it was just as Marines should be. You know, this.
Welcome everybody. Welcome to the live
for
Stone Cold
Marines,
podcast.
mainly because my dad was one.
Your dad was a Marine, but how was he as a dad?
Well, you know, my dad, there's no doubt, I knew he loved me. I knew he loved my brothers. I had 3 other brothers, and I knew that he loved us, but my dad had a drinking problem.
I think it's all right like that now. I think
he was an alcoholic. When he was drinking, he was a terrible father.
I don't know what to say. It's pretty
sometimes coming home looking for a fight.
Low budget,
and took it out on his kids, sometimes his wife. It was some difficult times, but even though bad stuff like that happened, I still knew that my dad loved me. Really, supported me in every sport I ever did.
I already got 6 likes, 22 views, man. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Was this a regular everyday thing? Or
it was.
Hey, man, what's Dad going to be up to today? I hope he ain't drinking.
That's exactly it. Well, I hope Dad doesn't come home drinking, because we knew somebody's going to get tore up, because anything could set him off, you know, when he's drinking. And then when I say that, you know, I don't want to put my dad in a bad spot here, but yeah, I want you to tell you that he did go too far when it came to the spankings. You know, going off the handle too much. I remember I'm breaking stuff over, you know, just too far. You know, would I say that we got beatings? Maybe a little bit. You know, maybe I would say that that's the kind of dad we have.
We'll go from the top. Welcome back.
Nobody's perfect.
The G18.
So
What's
being
up, Killer
brought
Kid?
up in a childhood
Junior
like
Brown.
that, in a combustible environment,
WWE
which was
2K
your dad
Jamie.
was a good man, but when he was on
Joey,
the sauce, not good.
Ruben,
Did
Angela,
that have any effect on the way
the
you
best
raised your
King
kids? Because you're a father
450,
of 4, correct?
Splash.
Yes, a father of 4, and it 100% affected the way that I raised my kids. Now, I have a dad voice, and I got that from my dad, and I can. You know, as soon as I yell at my kids,
voice, because I know what you're talking
All right, we have a
about.
few new people here, so
hey,
welcome.
You know, it's a little bit
Let's have a
louder than
listen to what AJ Styles has to say
snap
about
their
his
heads
entire
around and they
career
know
for, I
what's
believe,
up.
an
Dad's not
hour or
playing
so,
around
so we'll
anymore.
see how it goes.
Got that from my dad, but I also, you know, I always
I'm
say
just
you
here
can
for a
either
podcast, so
follow
I
your
probably
parents'
won't be
footsteps or
doing
learn from
a
their
lot of
mistakes.
talking in this video,
Right.
so
And I learned
just sit
from
back,
my
relax with me,
parents'
and
mistakes, and
leave some
you know, there's little
comments in the
things that
chat.
I got for them that I, you know, learned.
Won't be in a
that was
video
good things,
because
but
it is
most, you know,
copyright,
stuff
so
I'm not
I
gonna
don't want to
do.
be.
But in that
caught
environment and coming up
by
as a
the
kid,
WWE
like,
and
what
taking
was
the
your
court and all
athletic
that crap.
endeavors? Were you into team sports?
I was in everything, just like, you know, my boys are in everything. I was football, baseball.
This is AJ
basketball.
Styles talking
when
about
I was in
his
elementary school, we
entire
didn't
career.
have a football team, which
Hopefully,
killed me.
mentions TNA.
It killed me, man. It freaking
A small school? What?
This is ninth grade right here.
Okay.
That's my first year playing football on a team.
Okay.
Now we played in the backyard.
Now, did you join up in all these sports just because you loved
I loved
sports?
them. I loved them.
You need to get away from your dad. You need something to take out.
Oh, no. My dad would do anything and
What's up,
everything he can to make sure
banana?
that I played these sports. He would, you know,
I
buy
like
me whatever I need
bananas.
to
Hey,
play the
nice.
sports because he loved it too. I mean, I get it now that I'm a dad watching my own kid play.
Yeah.
So I would do anything.
What's
What
up,
kind of
Keith
athlete
Casper
were you? Because when I
961?
watch some of the stuff that you do in the ring these days, it blows my mind. And some of the move sets, some of the stuff that you do inside
All right,
the square
Ruben,
circle.
man. I'll
Highly
check you out
competitive
soon,
as a
man.
kid. Did you
Until after
excel
the
at the
podcast,
sports
and I'll
that you
check you
played?
out. All right.
You know, basketball did pretty well then, and I think it's more because not because I was the best shooter or that. I was just a hustler, man. I got after it. Everything I did was a hustle.
Stop spamming that, or else I'll put you in timeout,
you know,
man.
Playing T-ball, you know,
Ruben.
for the being sponsored by the Boys Club and Dairy Queen. You know, getting after it, man. I wasn't afraid of the ball. I had 2 older brothers that were going to throw the ball as hard as they wanted at me, so I caught it. I had no other choice either to get beat.
So we have a picture
lot
of
these
AJ
kids
Styles when he
are
was
scared
young,
of the baseball,
wearing
and I was like,
football
bring
clothes.
it.
Right.
I wanted it. I wanted every bit of, you know, the ball that I could, and you know, being the smaller guy, I just wanted to knock a home run as a kid, and never got the opportunity to do that. But I would hustle.
But see, in South Texas, where I grew up, we didn't have any amateur wrestling. I understand you do have an amateur wrestling background.
I do. I started when I finally got to play football. Our cornerback coach was also the head wrestling coach. He asked me to come out. I said, all right, I'll give it a shot. A week into it, I said, Coach, I can't do this. This is hard. This is difficult. And he said, give me one more week. I said, all right.
Was it the conditioning? Or was
Yeah,
it
blah, banana.
It was conditioning. I mean,
so
there's no
far,
other
so good. The
conditioning
podcast
like,
sounds really
you know,
cool.
collegiate wrestling. I mean, you can't compare it to anything. I think some of the best athletes in the world come from collegiate wrestling. There's
Well,
nothing
it's funny
else
that you
we
say that because I'm good friends with Kurt Angle, and he
Hey,
puts you
Kurt
over
Angle!
as being one of the best workers he's ever been in the squared circle with. And if you go back and look at his training logs of the insanity that he was going through to pursue Olympic gold successfully in 1996,
Yep.
he knows firsthand how tough it is. But he puts you over as being one of the most talented wrestlers, if not the most talented wrestler he's ever got into the squared circle with. But back to the amateur wrestling. You made it through. Did you excel at that as well?
Well, I was. We didn't have a 152, so my freshman year, I started at 152. I remember the first guy I wrestled. He was you know, it was like he's headbutting. He was just locking up, and I'm Coach, he's headbutting me. I don't know what to do, and the guy ended up beating me. Second year, I wrestled that same guy, and now I got a thing or two. I've got some you know, some mat work under my belt. I ended up getting thrown out of the match because I was calling him every name in the book while I'm sitting there putting his arm behind his back. I met up with him again my junior year in the finals of a tournament. I ended up 15-pointing him and pinning him at the same meaning I pinned him, but if I'd let him up, it'd been 15
Christ,
points.
I can't even understand most of the words he's
that
saying.
was the kind of guy I was. I wanted to.
He talks
I
too
wasn't
fast sometimes.
wrestling you to just beat you. I'm going to wrestle you. I wanted to hurt you because you decided to get on the same mat as me, and now you got to pay the price. That was my attitude.
See, and that's one of the things that just listening to you tell that story. That's one of the things that I love about you because that's that killer instinct. That's that mean streak. To me, to be successful in sports, you have to have a mean streak. Hey, it's not fun just to, hey, I want to compete. I just want to have fun and be out there with the guys. Hey, piss on that, dude. I want to win, and I'm gonna beat your ass to win. And that was much the same way I took into the squared circle myself. But when I watch you in the ring and I see that mean streak and I watch you lay all your stuff in, it's a contest. It's a sport. And that's one of the things that why I praise your work the way I do. Now, I also know you're somewhat of a religious guy.
I am. I am.
So what kind of words are you telling these guys when you got all these hammer locks and stuff and you got them twisted in a knot?
Well, listen. Now, just so
you
you know,
swearing last night.
Really, turn it around.
AJ,
when I was a senior in high school, so I was bringing it, and I was saying some awful things, and it wasn't just in wrestling, because in football you got to talk a little smack, and I let them know that I was there, and these little freshmen coming out, I'm telling them I'm going to murder you, you little mother. I was.
Whoa!
That's the way it was. But as I got into college, I went to a Baptist college as well. Man, I just didn't feel the same way. I didn't feel right about hurting guys that I was in there with. So it's just, I didn't finish college. Let's put it that way.
So what was your take on the business of professional wrestling? A lot of people come from the shoot side of it, and they see the pros and think, not so much. But growing up, did you watch the business to begin with?
I did watch a little bit. Now, I didn't have cable or anything like that, so it was very hard and difficult for us.
Were times hard? I mean, your dad's in the Marines. He's an alcoholic. He can be abusive, but he's a good dad when he's not drinking.
Right.
How was the money supply? Were you guys dirt poor?
We were freaking dirt poor. You got 4 kids, boys. They eat everything in the house. We lived in a trailer. That's just the way it was, and my parents weren't very good with money. I remember there was a back bedroom, but nobody slept in it because it was too cold or too hot. So my parents slept on the fold-out couch with my little brother, and I slept in the other room with my 2 older brothers. That was our life.
Joey's all good, man.
That we lived for a long time.
But
again, though, that's the reason why.
He's not like Ruben over here, spamming bloody mini minters, bloody hell all the time.
I go, oh man. Look at this house. I never thought I'd have something like this. Makes me appreciate the little things. Not that a house is little, but everything about where I am right now.
So what was your take on the business of pro wrestling? Because you're in, Anderson College?
Well, yes, I'm in Anderson College. And
you drop out?
I did.
Why?
Spring break came along. I go, I don't even know why I'm here. I didn't like school to begin with. Why did I go to college? Oh, I got a scholarship. Well.
What were you going to study?
Physical education.
Okay, I went as a business major, turned into a PE major. I dropped out with 17 hours. At least you quit sooner than I did. You were smarter than I was. So what was plan B?
I really didn't have one. I knew that I was dating a girl at the time. I knew that this is the one. Somehow I was going to marry this girl. Went home, got a regular job. But me and this girlfriend, we were out. 2 guys came up to me and said, to my buddies from high school, jacked up guys, says, hey, man, we're going to go be pro wrestlers. Like, all right. I said, I tell you what, when you find a place, I will go with you. Right. They go, okay. They called me maybe 2 or 3 weeks later. And they found a place in Cornelia, Georgia, about maybe 20 minutes from my house.
All right, Ruben, stop spamming that or else I'll put you in timeout. Don't say that anymore, man.
There. They gave me,
I told you I'll check your channel out later.
How I was going to react to a bump.
Right.
I said, I can do this. I can do this all day. I'm going to do this.
All right, man. Joey, go to sleep.
I don't know why, but immediately thought.
I'll see you later. I'll see you in the next time.
You couldn't have told me any different.
So did your amateur wrestling background have you in any way, shape, or fashion? Because I don't really see that in your wrestling style. High flyer, highly athletic.
Well, it did to begin with. Actually, to begin with, it kind of hindered me. I'm trying to rip guys' heads off, and obviously that's not the way we do things. But learning that, but knowing, what a fireman's carry is and stuff like that, knowing how things are supposed to work and how smooth you can make it, that helped. But that alone can't get you where you need to be. You got to be a jack of all trades.
So did you have to back off that mentality of,
well,
the win factor? I'm doing this to win, because this is a different dynamic.
You know how it is. You learn as you go what's important and what isn't important. But I barely got any training. Within a month into my training, I was in the rink.
Let me ask you, the litmus test for me, like in people that want to get into the business of pro wrestling, sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it, okay, is a flat back bump. Because a lot of people are allergic to that mat. But you, with your contact in football, with your amateur background, the bumps were nothing to you.
No problem.
You're good with that?
Yep.
And so then you started chain wrestling. How did you go about evolving into the style that would become AJ Styles?
I got to tell you this, and as crazy as it sounds, my girlfriend at the time, was a cheerleader in high school. Man, it was an athletic competition.
What a lucky guy.
It isn't what.
Who's that young buck?
Well, I'm much cleaner version of what you see now.
No, go ahead.
But
AJ Styles. They're showing a photo of AJ Styles.
Yeah.
When he was in WCW.
Sometimes guys do it. Well, I did it with my wife as well. I can throw her up. I can catch her. I can do all that stuff. So that's how I learned how to start doing my flips. And just being with her, we'd go out, you know, and do all that. Oh, man. But I wasn't afraid to do flips. I wasn't afraid to try these things. That's how I got started so quickly. Like, this guy can do a shooting star press, so let's throw him in the ring. Was I ready? Absolutely not. I would never do that to a kid.
All right, let me ask you a question. I believe you made your debut under a mask as Mr. Olympia. Is this true?
This is true.
I've talked to how many people, and they've started off as Mr. Olympia under a hood or a mask. And to those that don't know what a hood is,
listen,
explain to me how you become Mr. Olympia.
I would have done anything to get in that ring and wrestle. Right. I don't care
Whose
what
idea was it?
Definitely wasn't mine. It was the promoters. Like,
well, why did they want to put you under the hood?
I don't know, and I didn't care. I just put me in the ring and let me wrestle.
Yeah.
And it was against another guy who was, you know, trained with me.
What's up, Jordy?
We just went out there and done. I'm sure I'd be so embarrassed if I watched it now, but I was so happy to be a part of it all. I mean, I was dying to be in that ring and to be in front of people and wrestle.
So you met your wife. She was a cheerleader.
Yes.
Okay, so then what were you doing? You were doing stuff on the sides. You was mowing grass.
Yep, I was delivering bottled water. Bottled water, great job. And actually, I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying this, but to help pay for my training, because I had no money, I'd give them some bottled water, so when I'd change it out for them, you know, that's how I paid for my training, is I delivered them some bottled water, 5-gallon jug.
I ain't going to tell nobody that. Nobody listens to my podcast anyway.
But, I mean, it worked.
How long did it take you to grab a hold of to what the concept is here? Here's what we're trying to accomplish. Let's tell a story. You had the mechanics down probably, I'm imagining, pretty fast.
The mechanics weren't a problem, but I think it takes years to understand that, dude, there's more important things than the wrestling part of the match. There's a story that needs to be told, and I don't think I really captured that until Terry Taylor and I started sitting down and talking.
When was this?
This was
how many years in the business?
Gosh, it was
gotta be 5, 6.
Yeah, maybe longer than that. Maybe more like 8.
Yeah, because Terry was instrumental in helping a lot of guys down the road.
Yeah.
And myself as well.
Banana.
I mean,
said I sounded like King Star at one
I
point.
can't explain how much.
Let's get right into the news.
Got nothing but great things to say about Terry.
Okay, so then he helped you in that regard. But let's talk about your style, because when I watch you, AJ Styles, no pun intended there. When I watch you, I see someone that I see a lot of different pieces of. Do you consider yourself a high flyer, like a cruiserweight guy, or just?
I would say that I'm a guy who will adapt to whatever the guy that I'm wrestling is.
Right.
I want to be that guy. So you can throw me in there with anybody you want. I will adapt to them. I will do their style or my style, whatever we need to do to make this match great. I'll do it.
And to me, that's one of your strong points, the fact that you can work any style that needs to happen. I kind of model myself in my early career very impressionable by the Nature Boy Ric Flair. He's my favorite pro wrestler of all time. So in the beginning, I modeled myself after him. You know, it took me getting dropped on my head to change into a brawler, which fueled the height of my career. But if you had to say someone who influenced you ring-wise, whether it be 1, 2, or 3, who would you say influenced you style-wise?
Well, I would say at the beginning, I was more, you know, attracted to the athletes, you know, as far as their work. And they're, you know, like, I remember Lance Storm jumping up to the top rope, doing this amazing, just an amazing athlete.
Yeah.
And that, you know, I love that. But as I got into the story,
what's up, Hassan Oscar?
Shawn Michaels and the stuff, the way that he sold things and just everything he did, everything he did meant something. And that's what I admired about him, and I really.
If you do enjoy, be sure to leave a like down below for the live stream and share it around with other people. We are watching the AJ Styles podcast with Stone Cold on the WWE Network.
Not just that, but it was the little things he did that made his matches great.
Let's go back in one component and talk about your wife real quick, because you met her, she was a cheerleader. All of a sudden, you get into the business of pro wrestling. You're delivering water. You're delivering someone on the slide, paying for the wrestling lessons. That's a secret. Don't tell nobody. Get them on grass. You're doing whatever it takes. So all of a sudden now, you start traveling around the world, I'm guessing.
I'll tell you if we see any TNA footage.
Territories. What did your wife think from knowing AJ as she knew you back then, working a regular job, and now, man, you're gone all the time? Because, dude, being a pro in this business is not easy, it's not easy to stay married.
What's up, Andy?
So how did she adapt to that?
Well, you know, first of all,
no.
my wife's awesome.
That's
That's plain and simple. She's a good woman. You know, it was difficult when I started traveling around. We started dating in high school. That's where I met my wife. And so she knew me before I was, you know, entertainer here. And then so when I got on the road, it was difficult.
Got a
It
couple
was hard
AJ
being away
haters.
from
Got a
her.
couple
She's got
AJ
nothing to
haters.
do. I mean, even though she's home, she'll spend it with her husband. But I'm gone a lot. It's very difficult. When we had our first son, though, now it's not about us. It's about him. It's about the kids, and things got a little bit easier. And my job is to make sure I provide for them. So it's odd that it was the kids that kind of go, okay, let's settle down.
Man, AJ's wife looks
and we just
nice.
Worked it out.
Where were you at that time, promotion-wise? Because ultimately, soon enough, you'd end up in WCW, but you'd already traveled for, you know,
I
far and wide.
Yeah, I wrestled a guy named Christopher Daniels, as you know.
Yes. Christopher
he
Daniels.
Was the guy, after WCW went out of business, I was a little depressed. I mean, I had an opportunity here, I thought.
Let's talk about that, because
you
get into WCW, and then they go out of business. WWE buys WCW, correct?
Yeah, correct.
And you were going to get probably a good run, but I don't know if I've got my facts correctly. You tell me. Did Talent Relations not see anything in AJ Styles and say, hey, man, we'll catch you down the road?
Apparently not. Johnny Ace was the one that basically gave me my job in WCW, and also was the one who told me they're not picking up your contract. WWE's not picking up your contract.
Hey,
and
welcome, Kyle.
That's a little bit of a blow, you know.
That's a hell of a blow because you ain't got no job.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, that's someone saying, hey, man, yeah, you can do all this, but we don't think you're all that much.
And you know what? I wasn't. At that time, I didn't need to be there. That wasn't the place for me. If WWE would have picked up my contract from WCW, I would have fizzled out. There's no way I would have made it. I wasn't ready. I didn't spend enough time on the road. I had enough matches. All this was, to me, it's all part of God's plan.
But to me, I mean, sometimes timing is everything. Sometimes it's the only thing.
I'll tell you, WWE didn't pick up my contract. Fine. I'm going to go down to, I think maybe is either the 51st, 52nd anniversary of the NWA. I'm going to go down there. There's some Japanese wrestlers going to be there. I'm going to tear it up down there. I'm going to go work in Japan. That's what's going to happen. And that'll be the end of it. I'll just work in Japan. I'm cool with that. Well, going down there, meeting Christopher Daniels for the first time. This guy's a star when it comes to the independents. He's just got it all, man. He's amazing.
Yeah, he's an awesome worker.
Awesome. First time I ever met him, though, him and I just had an unbelievable match, you know, which is unheard of. Two guys getting in the ring first time and just never touched before.
Tag team champions, Christopher Daniels and AJ Styles.
He is the reason why I started getting booked all over the world. That man right there, one of my best friends to this very day, and because of him.
No photos are showing of Christopher Daniels though.
Doing all, wrestling the indies.
So what year was that? Because at some point, give or take, WWE offered you a developmental deal, but you decided. I would think fast, my friend.
Yeah, I guess that had to be 2001 because that's when WCW went out of business, and it was soon after that I met Christopher Daniels and it started taking off. And then 2002, I do believe in 2002 WWE. I wrestled a match with Hurricane Helms. Yeah. Had a good little match with him.
There we see Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe.
And then I went to the camp. I think it was a week long. Did okay, did pretty good. They gave me a call back, and they said, well, we want you to move to Cincinnati. We're going to put you in developmental. And I appreciate that. I was very happy to have it.
WWE
I said, give me a minute. Let me think about this.
I saw this
one. The problem was my wife was in
college. And his name was actually AJ Styles, too.
And I just, in my heart, I didn't believe it was right to say, you know what, honey, you're going to go live with your parents again when I'm supposed to take care of her. I'm supposed to provide for her.
What is up, Armando Ortiz?
So I didn't feel right moving to Cincinnati. So I had to call Johnny and said, thank you for, thinking about me, but I'm going to have to turn it down.
But, and that was all for your wife?
Yeah, absolutely, 100. She told me, she said, go. She said, go. My wife told me, go.
But again, it just goes back to me. You work for every single thing you've got.
At least not on my side.
You're taking care of your family, and here, you're looking out for your wife. So then, did you go to Japan, or was that?
Well, it wasn't a couple months, and then TNA.
TNA!
Hey, let's talk about TNA. They just call you up and say, hey, man, here's what we're going to offer
TNA, here we go.
I'm not asking for numbers, but how did they structure their offer with you?
Leave a like down below if you like this stream. And also check out my other stuff
tour, and I went down
channel.
there and wrestled. And
here we go. There's the actual photo.
Jeff Jarrett. And he was the one, him and his father were running TNA. Basically struck a deal there in Australia. Didn't think much of it. You know, I thought it's another independent. I'll go do it, make some money while I'm at it. That's how, as far as I know, I was the first guy they ever signed to a deal. So
what were your thoughts on TNA? I mean, because you spent, 12 years there?
11 years, 11 strong years there. And listen, for 6 months, I didn't care. To me, it was another independent. And I was okay with that because it was a Wednesday night.
There we go. Another photo of TNA.
I was able to earn
AJ
some
Styles.
bucks. As it grew, as people told me
no
that
logos
this place
though.
go out of business,
He's in the
and every day
pyro.
I go, you know what? We got something here. And I was having unbelievable matches with Low Key and Jerry Lynn. Jerry Lynn, one of my favorites, one of the guys I learned a lot from. And then went on to started doing more stuff. And
another photo of TNA.
Gets bought out by Panda Energy, and then this thing's really starting to go. Now we start moving to Orlando. I mean, it was a slow build, and now it's really taking a turn for something big here.
Okay, you're saying the turn starts coming up here. Panda Energy comes in. That means Dixie Carter's now running the company.
Right.
Your thoughts on Dixie Carter running the company, coming off the heels of working with the Jarretts?
Mentioning
well, the person who's
on
not
WWE.
necessarily been in the wrestling sports entertainment industry before, although maybe a big fan and a very smart individual.
Well, even though she bought it from the Jarretts, Jeff was highly, very involved with the storylines and stuff like that. So that was a good thing because you had that wrestling mindset still there. So it was still going well. I mean, it wasn't long after that we got to Orlando, got a Samoa Joe in there.
Wow, we have the actual TNA World Championship on AJ Styles' shoulder.
Some people don't see people the way we do.
Yeah.
And I knew Joe was going to tear it up.
Oh, it's the ugly Samoa Joe versus AJ Styles photo. The one where he has the stupid face paint on him.
Here comes Christian. And it wasn't long after that, Kurt Angle came. And
yes.
Now it's amazing. I remember seeing Kurt and going, oh my God, because nobody knew about it.
Right.
We're just like, this is amazing. So everybody's excited. I remember saying to another one of my best friends, I have 3 friends in this business that I count on that will pick me up 3 in the morning, no matter how far away. Samoa Joe, Frankie Kazarian, Christopher Daniels. I remember Frankie Kazarian going out on our first pay-per-view, when I was at TNA, and I said, tear it up, man. This is it. We were excited about this, and he went out there and he did. Yeah. It was such a great feeling there that we, a bunch of guys who wrestled on independence, came together and we were doing something special.
And that sounds great because, when you dug in and it's almost you against the
AJ
world,
Styles,
really.
Joe,
but did y'all ever feel that you were really viable competition for WWE, or were you just in it for yourselves and the structure that was TNA, and hey, let's grow this son of a bitch as much as we can?
That's exactly it. That we wanted, we didn't think, at the time, we thought we could be competition for the WWE. That was the goal. And then we thought, well, we need to be competition for UFC as well. We need to be competition for everybody. We need to do, what we need to do to bust our tail and get there. That was the ultimate goal.
What were your thoughts then? You were in the trenches working with all the guys you just mentioned, premier workers, and you got guys like, the Flair, Sting, Nash, Hogan. Angle came in, but you were working with him. But you were never the centerpiece of that company, although you held the belt 3 different occasions, many different other belts as well. Did you feel like you're being second fiddle? Did you feel like you were second fiddle to the big names?
Well, to a degree, because I knew that I really believe that Dixie was more of a fan of who she watched on television rather than the guys that got him to the ball game.
Right.
And so that I saw that, but at the same time, I knew that you couldn't be at the top all the time. You got to play your part in this role. And here's the truth. I don't care who's at top, because if that top guy is doing well for himself, we're all doing good. And I'm okay with that. I'll work my way back to that spot, but you can't always be in the top spot.
All right, that being said, I'm going to stay on TNA, but here You are here, right here, now in WWE to be on top and to stay on top, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I want to ask you one question. That six-sided ring.
It's up Frozy
That
Gaming.
looked like a pain in the ass to work in. Do you prefer a six-sided ring or a squared circle?
Well, here's the thing. When we were in the six-sided ring, I thought it made us different. I thought different is good, and I still think that to this day. But when Hogan, he came in, we heard rumors that they were going to change all this stuff. Everybody's coming in. We're going to switch to a squared ring. I said, that's crazy. We wouldn't do that because this is who we are. Sure enough. Well, before that happened, I took a belly-to-belly from Kurt off the top rope in the six-sided ring, and I thought to myself, I'm never taking that again. Well, I wrestled Kurt, and we were in the squared ring, and here he goes to give it to me again. It was like paradise.
Right.
So right then and there, it changed the way I felt about the six-sided ring because our ring is built different, obviously, from the squared and the six sides. So six sides is rough.
How did it come to be the phenomenal one, that part of the AJ Styles equation?
Well, I will say this. There was when I was working for NWA Wildside back when I first started.
All right, Frozy Gaming,
Dragon
stop
Wilson was a commentator, called me the phenomenal AJ Styles.
Or else I'll put you
then
in
I had a buddy
timeout,
who said, you'd come up to me for no reason, be like, hey, what's up, Phenomenal One? There you have it. And we just kind of ran with it.
Okay, describe to me now, here, as we sit in the WWE, hell, earlier, you
should leave a like down below if you don't enjoy this entire stream
on Sunday at the pay-per-view. You're going to probably follow that up with some more matches with the guy. You're on fire. So tell me, like when I'm thinking, sitting here, okay, if you tell me Stone Cold, I get it. Undertaker, I get it. The Rock, I get it. Hogan, I get it. Phenomenal One. Fill me in. What is a phenomenal one? Who is a phenomenal one?
Yeah, I agree with you, Aaron.
I think he's the guy that no matter who he's in the ring with, you know you're going to see something special. And it may be something you've never seen before, and the fact that I can pull it off anytime, anywhere, any place. I think that's what makes me phenomenal. And
go ahead.
And at the same time, you know, I'm enjoying myself when I'm in there.
No, and here's the thing, and I enjoy how humble you are, but when I hear that confidence, and when I hear you saying you're having fun, man, that's music to my ears, because you have to be confident. Never let them see you sweating. You're on top of your game, and if you ain't, man, it's like tonight's house. You guys were rocking it out there, and in Las Vegas last night, the people were in. Vegas is a tough town because you never know what you're going to get there, so props to that crowd last night at the pay-per-view. They were on fire. And when you go out there, all the chips are on the line. You're out there with the #1 babyface in the company, which is John Cena.
Absolutely.
And that crowd was electric. And, dude, you're calm, cool, and collected, and you're in your element. You're calm. You're not rattled. You're confident because the task at hand is to rock these cats, and that's what you did. And that's what I like about you. Before we get more into the WWE action, all of a sudden this 12-year run and 11-year in TNA comes to an end. The highs and lows, everything that it was,
let's see if we
all
can
the
get up
bookers
to
that come in.
20 or more.
Why leave TNA?
I feel like when you work hard, you should get paid for that.
Damn right.
And I worked hard. I never, got in trouble. I never did anything to embarrass the company. And yet I was taking a pay cut. At least that's what they wanted me to. I didn't think that was right. And I put a bet on myself. I bet on myself that I could go to Ring of Honor, and then somehow get in the New Japan, and everything worked out. And that bet worked. I believe in myself, and I bet on me, and it worked out.
Good call, because you got to believe in yourself. And I tell everybody that I pass in that locker room, if you don't believe in yourself, it's like we talked earlier. Man, if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't stick up for yourself, nobody is. So props. Talk about Ring of Honor. Let's talk about New Japan, the transition there. Working in front there in TNA for give or take 11 years, and in your American stateside stuff before you left for Japan. Talk to me about the transition, working American crowds versus Japanese crowds. Very different culture, very different crowds when you're trying to work in a squared circle.
It is a little bit different because they're not as crazy. Like the Las Vegas crowd was amazing. They're not going to be that way. They're going to sit and they're going to be very quiet. You've wrestled in Japan, it's totally different. But the wrestling isn't. And that's
all right. Ruben has been blocked.
The top guys
too much
there.
Spamming, bloody hell.
It's crazy how it sounds, but I don't know if you know the story.
Blah, blah, blah.
But I literally came in right to the top. I didn't wrestle any of the guys.
Give me the
straight
story.
to the top. Well,
because that's a Bullet Club story, right?
That's exactly where we're going with
Talk
this.
to me.
Finn Balor, Prince Devitt, he had made a decision that he was going to go to NXT. He was going to take a chance, bet on himself, which was a great bet.
Everyone hates AJ Styles. Why the hell are you watching
literally,
this
as I'm coming over to New Japan, we do this. I beat up Okada, show that I got the Bullet Club shirt on. Finn Balor is on his way out. I was there when he, you give a little speech, say thank you for everything. It was very emotional with Finn, and being in the locker room saying, to the guys, he'd been there like 8 years.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of was right in there, wrestled Okada, first match, beat him for the IWGP World Heavyweight title.
Just as far as a performance factor in the ring, man, I only went to Japan for 3 different tours. One time, the longest I was over was 3 weeks, in which myself and Arn Anderson drank a lot of beer to maintain our sanity.
Sounds like Gallows and Anderson.
Yeah, we'll get to those. But when you're over there, it's a whole different mindset, especially when you come American side wrestler and you go over there, because, man, I'm listening to a crowd, as you are here,
yes.
And that's how you're basing your decisions about where you go. And so all of a sudden you go from here to there and you're working in silence.
No, John Cena has never won the IWGP
say, okay, here's what it is. It's just different style, but how did that affect your decision-making process
got rid of Ruben.
In the ring, on the fly, in a match?
Well, I got to tell you, I've wrestled there before, so I knew what to expect. What I didn't expect is how good, Tanahashi, Okada, Shinsuke Nakamura, Shinsuke is over here as well. I didn't know how good they were. Man, it was amazing. And I remember one specific time where I had Tanahashi in the calf crusher. I'm wrenching it. And the crowd just coming. And so we're feeling it, we're seeing it. And I thought, what's going to happen here? And then you see fans crying in the front row because they were afraid that Tanahashi was going to tap out.
Yeah.
And right then and there, I go, wow, that's the beauty of telling a great story.
How funny
that's
is it?
What it's all about.
AJ Styles is talking about Tanahashi, and they've got Shinsuke Nakamura on the photo. How racist are they?
One of the things that I also enjoy about your work style, again, I'm a fan.
It's
and it's fun for me, who's been out of business since 03, to look at a guy and say, man, I'm a fan. And so to watch your matches. If you go to YouTube, I always get people to watch on my podcast, and it's the 25 moves of AJ Styles. And the calf crushers in there. There's so many, the Styles Clash off the second rope. Well, there's 25. You can look at YouTube yourself. Dude, how did you come up with this? Because innovation is the word I want to use. How did you come up with some of the sequences, some of the move sets that you've come up with? Because I've never seen them before. And what I like about your style is you execute with malice and intent to harm. You're very safe, but that's one of the things I like. It's not like a ballet dance, and I'll bring a match up here in a little bit. Talk about all the moves that you create and being the innovator that you are.
Well, first of all, I want to be different than anybody else. When I hit a move, I don't want them to think, oh, Ric Flair or Stone Cold. I want them to go, AJ Styles. So when someone else hits the same move or something that looks very similar, they're going, that's AJ Styles' move. I want them to think of me and me alone. So that's why every one of my moves is I try to be unique in everything that I do. And sometimes it's every move's, it's been done. But you can put your own twist on it to make it yours. I've seen a forearm before. I've seen Misawa do his forearm from the second, but how do I make it my own? And that goes in, it's just little things like Muda, and he do that elbow. It's an elbow.
Right.
That's when I say, okay, when I do my knee, I'm going to move a little bit in the air to make it a little bit different than everybody else's.
And I like that. You brought up Shinsuke Nakamura a while ago. He is the king of strong style. He's down in NXT. Who knows what we call to the main roster. But going back to the king of strong style, it makes me think of you. You lay your stuff in.
Get ready to fly, yes.
And so, I don't know what the gag was or if it's just straight up shoot. Spinning back fist, you knock the Miz's teeth out of his mouth. When you come in here, you've been here 6 months now, give or take. What did people think? It's like, hey, man, I was known during my comeback to, I would have done good in the UFC, according to some of the guys that I work with. I'm ribbing. But I was a little bit snug. I took care of the business, protect. Any heat from the boys in the locker room?
None at all.
Really?
None at all. That's the pros that we have here. I didn't see one guy go, God, dude, nope. In fact, they said, bring it. That's it. This is a tough dude. He doesn't get enough credit. He's tough, man. I respect that guy. And if I thought that there may be a chance that there would be some trouble on the way, because I do bring it, I'll make sure they know that it's coming. And so build it up so that when it does come, it's not as bad as they thought it was going to be.
Right.
So, but like you, man, I hit me, bring it. I like that. In fact, the harder you hit me, the more I'm into it. So bring it, man, and I don't mind that. I don't mind that part of it. Now, don't murder me where I can't figure out what to do next, but let's make a sound and make, protect the business, as you say.
What would be some of your favorite moments in your career thus far?
Here we go.
I think a lot of them, as far as some of the matches that I had, I mean, I've had so many here lately. I mean, I was in the Royal Rumble.
Talk to me about your response when you happened to Rumble, because here was when you made your entrance. Roman Reigns was in the ring. He's the world champion. You just had 2 world-class matches with the guy in recent months. You come down, and the people light up. Did you expect that?
Not at all. Dude, I was so worried that they wouldn't know who I was.
Right.
I thought it was the perfect place because it was Orlando. I had a chance. So I was hoping for that. I was hoping to come out early, but the way we did it was perfect. And, dude, I could have stood right there for 5 minutes and just sucked that in. I mean, I was just loving it.
Oh,
couldn't believe
awesome.
it. Try not to act like I wasn't, I could have walked back through the curtain and go, I'm done, dude. That was it. But getting in the ring with Roman, man, it was really cool knowing how they felt about him at the time, and it was a pretty good moment for me.
Why did you decide that now was the time to come to the WWE? I mean, it's been 18 years in the making.
Well, there was an opportunity. I got in touch with a friend who got in touch with Triple H, who said he was going to call me. Never did. And I just assumed, hey, listen, I'm 37 years old. They're not going to call you. And that's okay. I'm okay with that. I'm happy with where I'm at. And maybe 2 weeks later, I finally get that call. Now, during that time, we may have to go back to the TNA because of this. I needed to get back home. I miss my kids. If something happened to them when I was in Japan, I wouldn't know what to do. Not be able to get home really frightened me. So I was like, I need to get back home. TNA, we started talking about it, maybe something, but we were also talking to Ring of Honor, New Japan, who work together. Maybe do something there too as well. So we're doing some, yapping back and forth, and
hey, the man that calls Seth
went
Rollins,
and had a conversation with a couple people at TNA to see what we were going to do, and Triple H called. We had a great conversation, 30-minute conversation. First time I ever talked to the guy. I knew that's where the place I needed to be was here, and so lo and behold, here I am. I had to tell New Japan, which was very difficult, for a company that's so good to you.
Yeah, there's a loyalty there.
To say, I'm really, really sorry, guys. But I got to get home. I got to.
Man, I'm sorry.
And their reaction was like, oh no. I think Carl Anderson was the first one to go up to Ghetto and said, hey, I got to talk to you. And he was like, oh no. And he goes, and he told him that he was leaving. And he goes, hey, and Gallows and AJ.
Right.
Oh no. So it was a big blow, but man, they were so good to me, and in the way that when I left, they were still good to me.
What is the difference between the way WWE operates versus TNA versus New Japan? Well, you put it Ring of Honor, but that's a smaller group. Talk to me about just operation standard operating procedures, protocols for the boys.
This is the most professional.
Enjoy this live stream of the Stone Cold Podcast. Leave a like down below.
You may not realize
and share this around. It helps me a lot. And also, if you like what I talk about,
they have great catering here.
Okay.
I didn't have it really anywhere else. I mean, this is it's.
But straight up, and I tell people. Sorry to cut you off, but I tell people this. Back when I was in WCW, when you're on that side, it's war. We're number one. WWE, we're number one. But really, when it comes down to is the major leagues, and that's just the way it is.
Compare it to anything. There's nothing to compare.
So, were all of your expectations met? Are you being treated the way you want to be treated? How is your communication process with Vince versus Triple H or whoever you need to talk to express yourself and talk to what P1 AJ Styles wants to talk about and what you see? Are you able to voice your opinion, chip in?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know who's in charge. I can go to the source. Or before, I wasn't sure exactly who to go to. So now this is the place. There's one man in charge of everything. But I also know that if he's not available, I can go talk to Triple H. You know what? I can talk to, Chrono. There's guys that are available that I can talk to.
Oh yeah, the
and
young
have no
bucks in
problem talking
WWE.
to. That's just. It's not everywhere, obviously.
A lot of people will sit there on the outside and say, oh, man, they're keeping everybody down because this guy and this guy and this guy got all the main spots and no one to get shot. Do you believe that to be the case, or do you believe that they are doing everything they can with AJ Styles?
I believe they're giving me every opportunity to make a name for myself. You give me the opportunity, and I will take it, and I will run with it. That's all I need. Just give me the opportunity.
Damn right.
And, and they've given me that. Listen, I said it already. There's no way that Vince McMahon saw anything special in me at the beginning. But when he told me, he said, listen, let me tell you what I want. I want this pit bull. I said, I know that guy. I know that guy. I was, when I stepped onto that in the mat, that's exactly who I was. That's exactly who I am. I got something to prove. Give me the opportunity.
You've been all over the world. You're an 18-year veteran. You've seen a lot of it. Done a lot of it. But what was your first WrestleMania experience like? Because, dude, AT&T Stadium, Dallas, Texas, 101,000, biggest crowd WWE's ever had, rocking that place. Yeah. What did you think when you walked out?
AJ's attire on
Jerry
WrestleMania
Jones
32
built
was
a house that
awesome.
just can't be topped. Your feelings when you went out,
White
because
red.
you're a confident vet. You know what you're doing. Tell me your feelings.
My knees are
I wish
shaking.
AJ Styles still had those custom
they're shaking.
hoodies.
The crowd's so huge. Record-setting.
Yeah.
My first WrestleMania, not that I said, but I like to think I was part of it. It doesn't get much better than that. I mean, how can it? I'll tell you the craziest thing, man. I couldn't hear a thing in that ring.
Hey, what about me? What about Draven?
They were making sounds, but the fans, I couldn't hear them because all that sound was going up. That was the first time I really experienced something like that. I thought, does anybody care about this match? Because there was so little that I heard from the crowd.
Thanks, Draven,
so it was really
man.
hard to play off them as well.
And, dude, I speak from experience because we were there in Toronto. Oh, man, it was, it was Ford Field in Detroit. And it was Trump versus McMahon. And I was a special referee. And we're thinking the whole time, me and Vince are looking at each other like, oh, we're not doing so great. The crowd don't care. We can't hear them. Dude, the vocal noise goes up to the ceiling. You don't hear nothing. So it's hard to make a decision.
Right.
You went down that night, shoulders got pinned to the mat, 1, 2, 3. I heard your kids were a little bit upset.
They were a little bit upset, and I was like, guys, trust me. I lost that ring, but Dad won tonight. Believe me. And I got a little snippet, of what was going on, the opportunity the next night. And so, I made sure they were there. But, yeah, they were a little disappointed in Dad losing, but, I made sure they knew that Dad didn't really lose that night because I was at WrestleMania. It was unbelievable.
Question before they give me the go home cue. I've had a lot of time. I've had a lot of fun talking to you, and we've talked in the past. Just briefly when we passed by each other in the hallways. A few times I get a chance to come up here and see the guys and do a podcast. You're at home. I'm watching what you're doing now. You came in. You kind of just came in as AJ Styles, phenomenal one.
Well.
Do you prefer working heel? Do you prefer working baby? Because right now you're on a heel run.
I prefer to work wherever I'm needed.
Okay.
Either way, I'm having fun. Either way, I'm going to make it work. But it's a lot easier to be a heel than it is a babyface. And you know that it's the things you get away with, and sometimes that turn is almost what makes you that good guy again.
What would you say the future holds for the phenomenal one, AJ Styles, here in the WWE?
I would think that the relationship that I have here now and the work ethic that I'm showing now hopefully will provide a job, not performing, but in maybe helping someone getting better or something like that. Somewhere in the office within this company, I hope that they've seen the work ethic, and maybe I can hold a job somewhere in this company.
And you've been around the horn long enough through your years and all the other promotions that you've worked. You've been here now. These are shark-infested waters. I've told you that before. So you know what you must do. The communication channels must be open. The positivity on your level must be nothing but straight up positive, and be willing to make all the shots. Do you feel good about where you stand here? Do you feel like there's a glass ceiling? Do you feel like there's anybody holding your ass down?
Absolutely not. I don't see how. I don't understand that. How can someone hold you down if you don't let them? I mean, I'm going to go out there, and it's my job to get AJ Styles over. It's my job to make sure people want to see me in that ring.
What's up,
That's my job, and I'll take that because I'll make the best of it. And so I don't feel like you can't be held down if you give them what they want to see.
Talking about Keemstar and bloody wrestling.
It's
got nothing to do with WWE.
I've enjoyed seeing you
expand
your character a little bit with your promos lately. My question is,
the show.
We've seen you in the ring. What else do you have? Do you have more to offer from a physicality standpoint? Have you only scratched the surface?
He's back.
Only scratched the surface. There's a lot of stuff that I got in the bag that I can definitely throw out. Some big stuff that may come out much later that people have wanted to see. And maybe I can take that and run with that as well. I mean, there's stuff that I've got that you don't. If you use it all the time, then it's not special. But if you use it every now and then, well, man, it's exciting.
Well, man, I'm looking forward to seeing what the future holds for you here in the WWE as you move forward.
All right,
it's been a badass 6 months. Loved your run of your matches with Roman Reigns. I loved the match with John Cena last night.
Hell yeah.
I wish you health, safe travels, all the best. Dude, these are shark-infested waters. Only the strong survive. I wish you all the luck. It was a joy talking to you tonight. I've been a fan of your work for a long time. So, hey, man, I'm talking to AJ Styles, a phenomenal one. We're wrapping this thing up from Phoenix, Arizona. Shout out to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Kevin Love for rocking all my stuff. NBA championship. AJ, best of luck in the future.
Appreciate it.
I'm coming back in a month or two. I don't know who I'm talking to, but right now I'm in the PHX. I'm signing off of the WWE Network of the Stone Cold Podcast. I will catch your ass down the road.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, guys. That was the Stone Cold Podcast. And we have Dean Ambrose in the background. I don't know why. Blah, 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 blah. All right. That was the Stone Cold Podcast. Hope you went to enjoy. We are officially done. I think we've done, 4 hours, 5 hours now? Nah, 4 hours, I think. 4 hours of live streaming, so hope you went to enjoy. That Stone Cold Podcast was really good. If you do go check out the video version of this podcast, please do check out the TNA version of what they were talking about. You see a ton of TNA photos. AJ Styles holding the TNA World title around his shoulder, around his waist. You see some of his entrances. Pretty cool, man. How would I rank that out of all the podcasts, sir? I think it would be maybe I would say maybe number 3, maybe even number 4. The top one of my choice would still be Triple H. Vince McMahon was okay because of the Punk story, but yeah, by far Triple H was the number 1. Probably Vince McMahon number 2. I don't know. AJ Styles somewhere around that area. But yeah, I think that's it. All in all, Raw was really good. This podcast was pretty cool as well. And I'm glad you got to join me. And I'll see you in a future video, maybe next week. So, see how that goes. If you haven't already, leave a like down below. And support this channel. Subscribe as well if you like video games and other stuff like that. I have SmackDown vs. Raw, TNA Impact, and tons more, such as 2K16 and more. Alright, guys, I think we're going to end it here. And let's say goodbye to Mark Johnson, T. Casper, Aaron, Ty Oliver, Draven, Panda Plays, Ruben. And we also say goodbye to Mikey. And also we say goodbye to FIFA_gamer. And the last person we're going to say goodbye to before we leave is the man they call Seth Rollins. Alright, guys, that's all we're gonna say. Oh, and Killer Kid. Don't forget Killer Kid, or else he'll kill you somehow. Alright, guys, that's it. Thank you for joining, and I'll see you in the next video. Alright, thank you, and goodbye.